Thank you so much for joining us. I know that I suspect others will be popping in. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tal Costas, and we have, if you are on gallery view, you'll see many of our team members: Jess Rosen, Morgan Dixon, Chelsea Wade, Sandy Chalcraft, Mallory Miller, and Molly are on our team, the development team. And then actually we have one of our navigators, Ben. He's about to show his face. No, Ben Moore is one of our navigators who's really interested. And of course, Mitzi Bartlett is on as well. So we have our friends, Roger Roki, many donors from Chevron, and Kara's our regular art teacher when our school is allowing volunteers and friends to come. So just a quick update on where we are. Well, first of all, with COVID, it really has been rough on many lives and people. The one silver lining, or one of a few silver linings, is that we are doing things virtually, and so we are able to connect with people who normally we might not be able to. So that's how we are able to arrive at this event, because Wendy, Marie, hey, I look at her label and it throws me off. Wendy is actually in Florida, and we'll hear a little bit more about her and her life. And Toinette is in Chicago. So we have kept in touch for over the years, and we're just thrilled to be able to have them join us today. So yes, House of Tiny Treasures, we had to close down, as you can imagine, mid-March, when everything else went into remote operations mode. We tried to restart again in mid-July, but that was also when our community was seeing a spike in the COVID infections. And so we put that on pause. And then in mid-September, we had made a plan to go forth, because we knew that this pandemic was not going to let up, and that our community was going to be facing this for quite the duration. And we felt it's really important for us to connect with our children, because we have such a short time with them, since we have them just during the 2 to 5 year old time. That we opened it back up for our families who are already enrolled, who have been with us since pre-COVID. 11 of the 62 children were already transitioning into kindergarten. So it allowed us to be able to serve a smaller number of children. And so we did not open it up for new families. We have not yet. And so the number that we are maintaining is about 40 to 45. So about 2/3 of the number of children that we normally might have. So we're operating 3 classrooms, and this is also limited because our teachers, have, some of them have children themselves, school-age children, that they have to be at home helping them with their virtual learning. And we've had challenges actually hiring substitute or part-time teachers to help fill in some of the schedules, because of reluctance to really re-engage, and just the part-time nature makes it somewhat difficult. So in case you know of people who might be interested in some part-time or substitute work, please let us know. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here, and we'll want to just share my screen with a short video to give us a little introduction into our friends today.
I was a business manager in the cosmetics industry for 10+ years. My challenge was trying to unwind from the day I was introduced to drugs. So along with being an addict, I was homeless. I used to hear a story all the time saying you have to hit rock bottom to start, and I did. I had got arrested. A young lady that I was in jail with drew me a map to search, and I walked here 2 months pregnant.
She decided, I've got to have a different life for this new child, and came to our adult learning center. She was pretty quick in getting her GED. She enrolled in Houston Community College, and we are providing housing for her and now childcare.
My daughter Mary goes to Tiny Treasures through Search. I know she's in good hands, so I can concentrate in school. My plan is to go on to University of Houston and graduate with my master's in social work.
I was living in Montgomery, Alabama with my 4 daughters and their dad, and the situation was pretty turbulent. There was a lot of domestic violence. That situation was what led me to end up having to call the police a couple of nights in a row. And so that's pretty much how we became homeless. We packed up that night, me and my 4 daughters, and we left just everything in the middle of the night. So we ended up going to a homeless shelter, and we ended up just sleeping on the floor that first night that we got here at the shelter. So while I was still living in the shelter and going through my program, once I finished my program and they kind of graduate you towards employment, I took a part-time job and I enrolled in Houston Community College, and I finished my first degree in a year and a half. I ended up getting 3 degrees, and again, they were all across the board. I made straight A's, 4.0 average. You know, childhood is everything. I mean, people don't realize that a lot of the stuff, the dysfunction that you see in adults, it really is a majority of it, and I can't say all of it, but a majority of it's rooted in childhood. And, you know, if it wasn't for Search doing all they did for my children, I wouldn't have such an easy time raising my children now, because they were instrumental. They were my second parents when I was in recovery. I couldn't focus on my children. I had to focus on myself.
So before we get started on the questions, I do want to encourage you to go to the chat and introduce yourselves. We unfortunately don't have enough time to get everybody introduced, but we would love to hear and have others understand how you're connected to Search. And then also, if you have questions along the way, to make a note of them in the chats, because we do want to have time at the end so that we can do a Q&A with Wendy and Toinette. And we can do this on, use the speaker view, and that way you can see who is speaking. All right, well, Wendy and Toinette, we have had it's been a few years. So can you tell us, Toinette, a little bit about where you are today and what you're doing?
What am I doing today? Well, we're in the beautiful city of Chicago, and I am homeschooling. I've completed my master's in social work. Just enjoying life. I'm married now. My last name is actually Wilmore. It's Sharp Wilmore. Let me say this before I go, because it's been a while since I've seen some of you. And let me tell you, time has been good to us all, because you all look wonderful. So let me put that out there. Just staying active in the community, you know, raising Mary. My children are here. My parents are here. So I'm enjoying family life. And I'll be studying for my licensure. So I can complete that as well.
What are you getting?
Social work. I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, that's great.
I didn't hear. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so are you working too right now, Toinette? I think you're doing some part-time.
So I'm working weekends at an emergency shelter. But I'm at stay-at-home mom, and I also homeschool other children besides Mary. So it was a collaborative effort from some of the parents who chose not to do virtual learning because of the screen time. And so I took on the task to homeschool the children, putting their curriculum together, and so it's been fun and it's been challenging, but it's been wonderful.
That's great.
And I
Wendy, can
couldn't
you
do
tell
that
us
without
about
the
where
help
you
of
are now?
my husband. Sorry.
Okay, so hold that thought. We're going to talk to you about your new life here in just a second. So Wendy, tell us about where you are now and what you're doing.
Hi, thanks for having here. A little bit of a delay, so if I'm delaying as well, let me know. I liked hearing Toinette. I love hearing your story, especially how you started from GED and now you got your master's. That's incredible. I have in Pensacola, Florida. Am I breaking up a
A
little bit?
little bit, but it may be from my end too.
Okay, sorry about that. So I'm living in Pensacola, Florida. That is where I lived before I came to Houston, and the beach. Fortunately, Hurricane Sally destroyed the bridge that goes to the beach, so I haven't been in a minute. But we're managing really well. The girls and everything started changing. I was able to quickly transition and work from home. I work for an incredible company, Navy Federal Credit Union. They're in number 19 in the top 100 places to work with Forbes, and just have an excellent career with them. And honestly, all I do is work. I'm at the gym working out or trying to work on myself, and that's pretty much my life at this point in time.
Yeah. Well, yes, and I think I'm starting with asking about you because we often when we go into the airplane and they say put the oxygen mask on the parent first and then the children. And so, how are you taking care of yourself, Wendy? And what's managing as a single parent?
I honestly, I struggle a lot as a single parent still. And luckily, I work for a really good team. I've got, my boss knows a little bit about my background, my manager, and we meet once a month and kind of talk through it. So I kind of lean on my team at work to kind of support me in the ways that I really don't have any other adults around me and friends or family around me. And so work really is what I've kind of thrown myself into and just building up my family. Other than that, I take care of myself as far as health wise. I eat really well. I work out a lot. I'm in the gym. I literally have become a gym rat. So, and that's really kind of how I cope with things, to be honest.
Yeah. And the catalyst for you, because you were here in Houston for quite a while. And then, so what was the motivator to move back?
Honestly, my homelessness started in Pensacola, Florida. It was a weird story how I just decided to come to Houston, being that I didn't have any friends and family. I didn't know anyone. It was just one of those leap of faith that I took. I didn't even know about any of the programs. It was just one of those weird things. And so coming back to Florida, it was really to be closer to my family and to kind of have them back in my lives. And that's really what I've been working on, is trying to rebuild those relationships with my family, that the things that led me into homelessness destroyed. So, yeah.
Yeah, Toinette, what about you? Yeah, so you were originally from Chicago, and then what brought you to Houston, and then what brought you back to Chicago?
So no, I'm not from here.
Oh, you're not from there. Okay.
So I'm not. I grew up in Colorado and New Mexico. However, my parents are from here. so, um, so I was in Houston for quite many years. I was in Houston. And that's where I fell down, and that's where I got up and fell down and got up again. So what brought me back to Chicago was making sure I didn't fall up under again. And then it was during Hurricane Harvey. And I just want to say, hi, Mom. I see you. So Hurricane Harvey. So there was a lot of turbulence with Hurricane Harvey that brought me here to Illinois, and my parents have been absolutely been my backbone. So I'm so grateful for them. So that's what brought me here.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we try to help people with is about community. We talk a lot about how losing connections and wanting to rebuild connections is a real driver of our clients' motivations. And yes, and finding and establishing stability and a recognition of that. So I think that that's terrific, Toinette, that you recognize when things were tough to change that environment. So tell us a little bit about your schooling and what's your aspiration on your work there?
So I don't even know where to begin, because I don't know if you all know that I did get my GED from Search. I went into labor with Mary trying to finish. So just kept going from there. And actually, probably 6 months after I finished the Search and started at Houston Community College, I still went back to Search to help with classes. And my case manager at the time, who was Heather, she said, you have resources at your school. So I just hung in there and moved forward, went to TSU, graduated, started my master's at University of Texas. The hurricane happened, came here, took a little break off, started, and finally finished in December of 2019 when I got my master's. So it was, and of course that was a collaborative effort, because my wonderful, wonderful husband, Jerry, who we'll give a shout out to, even though he's not here, but he played a huge role because we were both working, and I worked doing Intact at a nonprofit out here. And I wanted to finish my master's, but between working, home, Mary's her curriculum and her extracurricular activities, it was a lot. So we sat down and talked, and so I was able to, remain at home and concentrate on completing my master's.
That's great. Yeah, I know Wendy has mentioned often that education is such a driver and a passion for her. So Wendy, can you tell us about your education motivation and goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, I actually had gotten out of the shelter after 8 months, and because I didn't really have, at that point, didn't really have any plans, any long-term goals, I ended up coming back to the shelter 7 months later, right after I got out. And it was the second time being homeless that I realized I need something. I can't, poverty is a hard thing to climb out of when you're only making minimum wage and you got 4 daughters to take care of. You're going to stay poor unless you up yourself in some way. So that's when I was like, I've got to, get better in as far as unemployment is concerned. So that's when I decided to enroll in college to, better my academic self, as well as make myself a little bit more competitive in the employment field. And so, yeah, I stayed at Houston Community College for 6 years. And that's partially because I was working there too. So I worked there for 3 years. And so most of that time it was just convenient to kind of go back and forth between working there and going to school. But eventually they were like, you got to go to big girl school now. So they kicked me out. Not kicked me out, but they were like, you got to go. And so I went to the University of Houston and got my bachelor degree there. And, I've stayed at I stayed at Houston Community College for so long, and then it took another 2 years to get my bachelor's degree. I was like, I'm done with school. Although I admire anyone that's got their master's degree for sure. And I'm still going to school. I'm going to the University of West Florida now to work on a certification for my job as an analyst. So it never stops. Learning never stops. It really doesn't.
That's great. Well, we're just so proud of you, both of you.
Thank you.
So one of the ways that I have been able to stay in touch with Twanette is because, so Twanette, you went to TSU, right, for your social work degree? And
Yes.
And you were recognized one year. What was that recognition? Can you tell us about it?
Which one? No.
Which one?
So it was with the the National Association of Social Work, where I was Student of the Year for Texas. So yeah.
Yes,
That's probably.
and she has friends who have come and interviewed with us and come work for us, and they're like, "Oh, Twanette says hi." I love that. I love the network that you have created for our benefit too. So I'm going to switch gears now and show you a little video about the girls. We're gonna start talking about the girls. So let's see if I can do this. So tell me about your school here.
I have a lot of friends. I'm learning how to spell colors. I spelled red, blue, yellow, and pink. Mama always cares about me.
That just warms my heart. See how wonderful they look, so mature. Twanette, let's start with you. How old is Mary now? And tell us about kind of the journey from the House of Tiny Treasures to her spicy self.
So Mary is 10, and just really quickly, because I know we're on the time, but
you're
the recognition came through Francine Haynes, who's now works at CERT. She put in the recognition for the National Association Social Work, and I didn't know it. And she had the highest GPA in our class. And I asked her why she did that, and she said, because you worked the hardest to get here. So moving forward, I'm sorry. So Mary is 10. What was your question?
My question was,
Getting all water.
tell us about Mary. So she was born when Twanette was in when we CERT used to have adult basic education classes, GED classes. And so Mary is now 10, about to be 11. How old is she?
January 6th, she'll be 11.
Okay.
She'll be 11 January 6th.
Yes. And so tell us about her and, her time at the House of Tiny Treasures and really kind of who she is today.
So the House of Tiny Treasures was wonderful. We are actually still connected with Miss Gwen and Miss Tanika, who were her first teachers at the House of Tiny Treasures when she first started there at 18 months. And it was just a beautiful experience. Just that she was able to be there along with what she learned at home. That was she learned at the House of Tiny Treasures as well. And the safety net that I was provided through the House of Tiny Treasures allowed me to be able to go to school without worrying about how I'm going to find childcare or a safe place for her. And that was already set in place through search. So I just had to get her there and pick her up. And that's all I needed. And search provided, bus passes in order to make sure that we were able to pick our children up and get them there to work or go to school. So that was a huge opportunity. And I remember when she was getting close to the age of aging out of Tiny Treasures. Hi, Mitzi. Mitzi had brought in Kip, some people from Kip that introduced us to to Kip. They were just finishing up the school on Martin Luther King. So I remember talking to Mitzi about that. And let me say something. When I had finally got a car and my car broke down, so we was having to get on the bus again. And Mitzi was so worried. I told her it's gonna be okay, Mitzi. And it would pour down rain by the time we left our apartment. But by the time we got off that bus and I had to walk her to House of Tiny Treasures, not a drop. So, but it was, and also Mitzi encouraged me, try to get her in KIPP, and I'm glad I did. So, and she started there at 4 years old full time. So it was beautiful, beautiful experience with the House of Tiny Treasures.
That's wonderful. So Wendy, you want to tell us about the girls you had at the House of Tiny Treasures and their experience?
Well, okay, so I had 3 daughters at the House of Tiny Treasures. My oldest daughter, she was a little bit too old for the program, but they were there. My twins were there, I think, 2 years, and Shauna, the one that was on the video, that was short and chubby, is now taller than me. And but Shauna was there for 3 years, and I feel like, you think about, my recovery and what it may have been like without them having the opportunity to attend House of Tiny Treasure. It definitely wouldn't have been the same for them. So, the environment that they were provided was very stable, very loving, very educational. Even though our life itself was unstable, they were in a very stable place. And House of Tiny Treasures provided us with everything we needed. We've got diapers, shampoo, clothes, toys. Christmas time, you know how Christmas time was for kids at House of Tiny Treasures. It was crazy, crazy gifts. Anything that we needed, you guys were there for us and provided it to us. They got to go on field trips. I don't know how many times they went to the aquarium. They got, I think is it the Hammer? They got to meet the Hammer guy. I can't remember his name anymore. But yeah. I think he bought them shoes. Like he took them on a couple of shoe trips and bought them shoes, brand new shoes. And like the water time on Fridays where they got to get in their bathing suits and swim, and then the snow days, and just the family nights where we'd go. And I know we've had like Thanksgiving dinner, and so to me, I felt like I was part of a family. Whereas in Houston, we didn't have any family, didn't really have any friends, and so I'll be honest, that was probably closest thing I've had to family anytime in my life. And so that was really important. And I think it's just the thing that makes search stand out, that's unique about what you do, is you understand that the children need that attention and care just as much as the adult needs to work on their recovery. And I feel like long-term impact was really what was really beneficial for them, in that they entered school already already in that mode of learning. They were already creative. They knew how to play around other kids. All 3 of them entered in the Gifted and Talented program in elementary school, and stayed in Gifted and Talented until they went into middle school, and they didn't like it anymore. It was too much work, but it really was a good benefit for them. So, and I'm always grateful for that. And I still keep up with Miss Gwen too. Facebook, we talk on Facebook almost every other day. So she's remained part of our family. And anytime I post a picture of the girls, she'll say, look at my girls. So yeah, we've stayed connected to her and Miss Margaret as well.
So Wendy, if there's one word that you can use to describe your girls, what would that be?
Gosh, I mean, there's lots of words that come to mind, but I think to me, I would say gifted. So I don't know, I guess we all hope this and think this about our children, but like they, to me, are like 1,000 times more insightful, intellectual, intuitive than I'll ever be. So I feel like they've got 1,000,000 times more head start than I did, just because they didn't have to go through all the toxic things that I went through growing up. And they are very emotionally intelligent. They've got a high EQ, and it's just, we want better for our children, obviously. But yeah, I would say definitely gifted.
Well, I would have to, of course, give a lot of credit to you. You have really done such an amazing job on your own recovery and making sure that they have that stability. So it's good. Toinette, what about you? Is there one word that you can use to describe Mary? Start with one.
Outgoing.
Yep.
Mary is outgoing. She loves life. She's so connected to the world, and she may not realize it, but I see it. Just, she's just outgoing and loves everything and everybody, and don't step on the bugs, because you don't want to kill the bugs, and just loves doing, being creative. There we go. That's Mary. Creative. Yes, she is. She's creative. She loves crocheting. She builds things out of boxes. She likes putting things together. She takes care of our plants at home. She's very creative. Mary is creative. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if there's advice that you could offer to Search in our House of Tiny Treasures, Toinette, what advice do you have for us in helping?
Okay, I wrote it down. So my advice, Tiny Treasures, is to bring back the adult education program, because not only is education important for the children, it's important for the parents to have education, or apprenticeships, skilled trades, because people first think we're going to need money to survive, right? They don't think, let me go get my GED. A lot of people need money to survive, especially now during, with COVID and so many things shutting down. So, wonderful that you all are able to provide the roof over the head in order for them to go to school or get a skill trade or, find an apprenticeship so they can be self-sustainable. Also and I know it's because the children are tiny treasures, but those children have parents that need to know how to succeed in life in order to take care of them. So I would suggest also, I'm sorry, having budgeting skills. And I came up with this because I think back on things that helped me or would have helped me better along the journey. So budgeting, knowing how to budget, whatever it is that you have, you could budget. You can make $1 out of 15 cents. You can. Peer support, connecting with other parents at Tiny Treasures. That's so important because everybody has a different story, but they're at House of Tiny Treasures because either homelessness or poverty. So understanding, having peer support, and I remember connecting with some of the parents, that's really helpful because they are able to understand where we're at. and understand. And it's and the people that work there understand, but having peer support is very important, even not for the parents, but even for the children. So the children can be able to still maybe connect with each other outside of Tiny Treasures. Um, Teaching um, nutritional wealth to the parents and the children. But more so, I'm focusing on the parents because they're the ones that's going to be at home, the children with them, to understanding that what you put in your body plays a role in how you will think and how you will feel and how you will deal with life daily. So I think that's important, the physical aspect, but they do that. They go outside, they play. Houston has beautiful weather. So, even making sure the children outside of school still get some type of physical activity. And it's not saying that they don't. I'm just, it's always good because it's going to affect you. And when you get older, trust me, my knees know the truth. So, and teaching them just, or not teaching them, but educating everyone on utilizing resources in the community because they're there, especially even more so during these times, because a lot of times they may not know the resources that they have. And sometimes a participant may not open up about, okay, I may need extra food, and they might be right next to a place around the corner that's a food pantry that has fresh fruit, food, or food, period. So, optimizing resources in the community and having a support system at school and especially outside of Tiny Treasures, having a support system and communicating with your educators at Tiny Treasures, so that way, if you're going through something or however, they're able to help adjust that, and it may play a part in if the child is going through something that day. Well, that may be the reason why. So to be able to communicate what's happening, comfortably and not in fear of anything, so the children can continue to thrive because that platform at Tiny Treasures is like a great diver when they can jump on that uh, that board and do a beautiful flip and land perfectly with a perfect score. So Tiny Treasures provides that, but the parents need to know this. And and I know a lot of them do, because I know without that diving board that was provided there for me, I don't know where we would be right now. So, just optimizing a lot of things that's already being taught there, but being taught to the parents so they can optimize life for their children.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Wendy, what about you? What advice do you have for us?
Everything she said.
I know.
No, I love that. And I'll just say a couple of things on that here and kind of go off to the side just a little bit, not too much. But what she said about peer support is probably so critical, because here in Pensacola, their homeless shelters are far and few, right? We started here in a homeless shelter in Pensacola before we went to Houston, and their advice to me was get a job, get a job, get a job, get a job, get a job. And they, I got a job once and I got hired there. And then the first day my child was sick and I got fired on the first day because I had to take care of my child. So, but now that I'm back here in Pensacola, I will say that, when I first became homeless, I was like, oh, this was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because my life was changing so much for the better. I got out of the abusive relationship. I was working, to better myself. I was going through the recovery program, things that I had never done before. And I was so optimistic about my future. But now at this point in my life, I'm isolated. I stay very isolated, and I've still got a lot of scars. And that, I have a hard time forming relationships and friendships. I have zero friends here. And, looking back, although that period of time in my life was very positive because I was changing and changing, now that I've reached I have this really amazing career. I make really good money. I've got great benefits, but I constantly live in fear that something bad's going to happen and I'm going to lose it all and we're going to be homeless again. So that's always it's like this chronic paranoia that I always have. And so I don't have any support here. I don't have any friends and family. And none of the people that I work with, they've never been homeless before, or, you know, to some degree, I don't see addiction and the things that I had. So having some peer support right now where I'm at is probably something that I could use right now. So it's critical. Toinette was spot on with that. And then obviously nutrition is big as well, because I'm vegan now, and I feel like I look younger than I do back then because I'm taking care of myself. I work out, I eat right, that kind of thing. But I feel like Search is doing so great in the community. You know, like I said, your program is unique. You stand out among programs that I've been exposed to, because you do put so much care into the children and help the adult focus on their recovery. But I will say, as Toinette said as well, you know, being a stronger advocate of education is extremely important, because, you know, poverty, as I said before, you know, if you're homeless for a certain period of time, or even so had a drug addiction, you know, during that period of time you're homeless, technology is advancing, and your skills, if you don't have the skills to keep up with that, you're not going to be competitive in the workforce. And that's where education comes in. And also feel like, for me, education was an important part of my recovery, because it literally gave me something to focus on. You know, it was the point in my life to where I was like, I don't have time to look backwards. I've got this in front of me now. I've got something to work forward to. I can see forward. And so, and then, you know, Pell Grants, I was able to buy a computer with my Pell Grant, and that computer helped me get through college. I was able to pay some bills with that Pell Grant. So, I mean, it gives you that extra income as well. So definitely advocating that education to just make yourself more competitive in the workforce and pull yourself out of poverty. That's huge to me. That's a big deal. So thank you, Toinette. I feel like you and I are definitely on the same wavelength on that.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
So we have time for questions. If any of our friends and participants here today. Hey, Lee.
I have a question. First of all, thank you, Wendy and Toinette, for sharing your stories. They are so inspiring, just incredibly inspiring. What occurred to me, though, Wendy, is you make a great point that unless people have experienced what you have, it's really hard for them to understand what you've gone through and make those connections. Have you thought about maybe a social network of people who have previously experienced homelessness through something like Facebook, where, you know, one of you could be an administrator and screen people that wanted to join the group to make sure that, you know, they were legit. But maybe you could create a community of people that have been through that. And as that grows, you could find people near you that could better understand what you've gone through. Just an idea.
I think it's a great idea. You know, to your point, Lee, my daughter is about to graduate, my oldest daughter, she's about to graduate high school, and she needs volunteer hours. And we were actually thinking about going and volunteering at the local shelter, the place where we actually started our homelessness at, and kind of plugging in and saying, hey, by the way, when I was in Houston, this is what they're doing. So I feel like, to me, that may help. And then just getting plugged back into, you know, that would give me the exposure to people that are going through the same thing that I am. And I think for me, that might help me with some of the problems that I'm dealing with now with lack of connection. I'm literally trying to get off Facebook, though, I'll be honest with you, but I definitely feel like I do need to connect and find a way to connect to people that are experiencing or have experienced what the homelessness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe Facebook isn't right. I don't blame you at all for getting off. Maybe there's another platform that we can talk about
Possibly
later.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I really, so I do follow Wendy on Facebook, and you know, it's like a lot of people put just nice positive things, and Wendy, it's not just, Wendy shows the pictures in a very artistic form, as you saw that last photo of the two girls facing the sunset. But you are really genuine in your vulnerability and how, in what you express through Facebook, which I think is really meaningful to people.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our?
Can I just add something? So Lee, you brought up something really, in the moment when you said it, I was thinking about it as Wendy was talking as well. And something like some type of forum, some type of source where you could have that community, especially with folks that have been through something similar, or just good peer support from folks that have gone through just really hard times in general. But what I immediately also then thought of was, I'm a housing navigator, and I think about all the things that we do to help a client meet eligibility and resources that sometimes we find along the way. And we share that with as many people as we can. But the folks that really sometimes need that are, the folks that are in it, right? Someone that's homeless, and we can go out and try to help. But I think it would be such a great way for someone that has access to a computer to even do something like this, right? But for someone that maybe is even in homelessness, that could be maybe a source for them to go to learn how someone got out of it on their own, to learn about resources that they may need, to just be eligible to get into housing. It sounds like something that would be really good across the board, from homelessness to out of homelessness, and then staying out of it, and being with peers in a community that are not just supportive, but of course have maybe been through it as well, and help understand how to stay out of it and sustain that for sure. Yeah, that's a great point that Lee made. And if that's something that y'all want help with, especially being a housing navigator, I know the specifics of what's necessary, and then what a client may want afterwards as well. Yeah, if y'all need any help with that, please let me know, because it's a great idea.
See what you started, Toinette.
Good thing.
You started, Wendy, and I'm gonna jump on board.
Well, you mentioned peer support, and I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." And then Leah was like, "That is a great idea. How are we going to make it happen?" And then Benjamin we kind of followed up along it. But I love the idea of peer support, not just when you're homeless, but in the years that follow. I definitely love that idea.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to, just everybody is trying to figure out how to connect, especially in this time in our lives. And in our other program with our single men and women that we've moved off the street, we created the Coming Home program, and even that has had to be put on hold. But we're trying to figure out, and so yes, I think that this is something that we definitely want to keep tinkering with and figuring out how to do it. Anybody have any just comments for Toinette and Wendy? There's a lot of nice congratulatory notes in the chat, which we will share with you. Anybody?
I forgot to say hey to Mitzi. Hey, Miss Mitzi. Miss you.
Yeah.
I'll comment real quickly, Wendy and Toinette. I put it in the chat, but I'm just in awe of both of you. But part of Search's mission is providing hope, and I think that's what the two of you represent. And whether it's through some sort of a peer support program or whatnot, you are just the perfect example of there is hope for the future. To see what you have both accomplished is amazing, and really, I think would provide a lot of hope for a lot of people.
Yeah, and our volunteers have really contributed so tremendously to our House of Tiny Treasures. Denise Duplantier has been with Conoco. I don't know, Denise, are you still there? You want to pop up? I don't know if she's able, but when you mentioned going to the aquarium, Wendy, and the children at the aquarium, she wrote on there, it's like, oh, that was my project. Every year she would take the children to the aquarium and have them eat lunch, Thanksgiving time. And so a fine dining experience with a lot of fun, and those experiences clearly left an impression.
I'm here. Oh my gosh, yes. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, Toinette, I know Mary and Wendy, your girls was probably on my aquarium. When you said aquarium, I was like, yeah, they was with me. I just love my babies. I was just there on yesterday, dropping off my gifts to the kids. And since we're in this current environment with COVID, we weren't able to meet face to face with the families, but I was able to get gift cards for the Boston market, so to allow the families to be able to get a hot Thanksgiving meal. I just love my kids so much, and I just look forward to spending time with them, and I'm just so passionate about being able to see the kids develop, and I hate to see them be in the program the following year, because then they I mean, I like to see when they're gone. I mean, not gone, but I just know that they're bettering their situation, and that they're, whatever. But I am Mitzi. No, I just love Mitzi. I love Molly. I love Taz. I just love the whole program, and the new location. Oh my God, because we used to go to the first location. That's where we used to go. And now I'm just in love with the new location, because we were able to be there on last year. And I hate we hadn't been able to go to the aquarium in the last couple of years, but hopefully we can start that back up again. But I always look forward to those two events annually. So I'm sorry, guys, I get excited and passionate when I start talking about the kids, the House of Tiny Treasures, because I look forward to that every year. And my volunteers even they keep coming back. They be like, oh my God, I want to sign up to volunteer, because they just have so much fun interacting with the family and the kids, that they look forward to it every year. So yeah, so I'm
Everybody's
sorry.
like that. No, you don't have to apologize. Everybody has that same, everybody that we encountered at the House of Tiny Treasures shares that same enthusiasm and love for the children that you just kind of displayed to us. So there's nothing to apologize for. I love that.
Thank you. And I'm so proud of you ladies. I'm gonna get y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Much success. God bless you all both.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
Any last words, Toinette or Wendy?
So let me just say thank you to all the beautiful and genuine comments that you all put here in the feed, and for the great feedback that you all have for us, and your unselfishness to such a population that needs genuine people, out there willing to really be genuine. So I definitely appreciate that. And I want to say I really appreciate you, Wendy. We'll definitely connect, and you keep doing what you're doing and keep your head up. So, and thank you for this platform that we were able to share. Where are they now? Because I'm sure not only our stories, but a lot of other parents, and I know most of us stay connected to church. It's become an umbilical cord to me. So, and I know I just feel that love that I have connected with church. So thank you, Tal, for putting this platform, and the whole team for putting it together and doing your thing. And you all keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Wendy?
Man, again, everything Toinette said. I love how you speak. I love how you speak from the heart, for sure. Yeah, I think right now, at my point, where I'm at right now in my life, I think I needed this. It's, I feel really disconnected. And I don't know, maybe it's because I am working from home, and because I just tend to isolate myself. So kind of revisiting this and remembering, like seeing that video of Shauna as a baby, and now she's like tall and skinny and only 14 and taller than me. So it's just kind of reminds me where I came from and all the things that I worked so hard to overcome to get to where I'm at. And you can't see it, but one of the things that my boss told me to do is put a whiteboard up. It's kind of up there on the wall, if you can see it right beside my photo of my anyway, I won't talk about Albert Einstein, but I love him. But it says, remember everything that you've accomplished. And my boss told me to write that. And every time I feel down on myself, or I feel like I'm not worthy, I always look at that on my board. And so this is kind of one of those things where, yeah, remember everything you accomplished. And definitely, it's Thank you so much for allowing us to come and talk today. And Toinette, it was a pleasure listening to you as well. Your story is definitely an inspiration.
Well, obviously, you have a big fan club, both of you. We're all here rooting for you and so happy for your success and look forward to the children's connecting with us in the future. Although I hear that Wendy's girls are a little on the shy side. Mary, we might be able to get to join us for the children's conversation. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We will have this airing on our YouTube channel as well. So thanks again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Thank you.
Peace.